Hi, I'm Doug Sesserman, privileged to serve as the CEO of Americans for Ben-Gurion University, and welcome to our 56th webinar. This one is a special edition we call Negev Prevails, Updates from Ben-Gurion University. This webinar is called for an hour, and thank you to the more than 290 people who registered for this webinar. Today we will be joined by Professor Chaim Hames, the Rector of Ben-Gurion University, and Professor Dorit Nitzan, the Director of BGU's Master's Program in Emergency Medicine, Preparedness, and Response in the School of Public Health. They will share updates from Israel not only on the direct and unfortunately disproportionate impact of the October 7th massacre on the university's community, but also how the university has responded so remarkably, so resiliently, thanks in great part to the support from donors from around the world and in the United States, to help its students, faculty, staff, and the broader Negev region recover and rebuild. Before we begin, I just want to thank my staff who worked so hard behind the scenes to help produce this webinar: Lenore Levine, Director of our Events and Experiences, Cheryl Korlitz, and from our marketing team, Blair Kahana. This webinar is called for an hour, but we'll be able to ask questions throughout. If you want to ask a question, just click on the Q&A button, and I will do my best to feed those questions to our panelists as the program goes on, and we'll try to reserve some time at the end for more questions. As the people of Israel continue to recover and the IDF completes its necessary mission in Gaza, there's no question that Ben-Gurion University is at the epicenter of the process to recover and rebuild Israel from this conflict. Given its proximity, as was mentioned in the video, to the Gaza envelope, BGU, as I mentioned, was directly and disproportionately impacted. Immediately, our students and staff became volunteers, helping where they could. Our medical students were serving as triage specialists at Soroka Hospital. Our psychology staff immediately became caseworkers. Our dorms became housing for medical professionals from around the center of Israel and evacuated families. And our campus became barracks for reservists being called up to duty. As of now, classes, which were supposed to have begun in October 8th, have been suspended until December 31st. Chaim will tell us more about that. And our Eilat campus at Israel's southern tip continues to house evacuated families, and our classrooms there have been converted into kindergartens and classrooms for students. Let's begin with the Rector of the university, Chaim Hames. Chaim serves as the Rector, what we know in the States entitled as the Provost of Ben-Gurion University of the Negev, after he served as BGU's Dean of Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. Chaim received his BA from the Hebrew University and both his master's and PhD from the Cambridge University. In 2013, Professor Hames launched the Center for the Study of Conversion and Interreligious Encounters. His research interests include medieval and Renaissance Jewish, Christian, and Muslim mysticism and philosophy, apocalypticism, which maybe we can talk a little bit about the apocalypse, and is that what we're experiencing? It's just crazy. Interreligious polemics, conversion, Bible and Talmud translation, and issues dealing with religious conversion, in addition to the numerous publications he has authored. Professor Hames recently wrote a book about Judaism entitled, I, in parentheses, do not believe, Judaism in Israel, past, present, and future. Since October 7th, Chaim has been posting on his social media, Facebook in particular, daily diary-like entries. These posts provide an up-close and personal picture of the university during and in the aftermath of this war. I recommend that everybody follow Chaim on his Facebook page. I'm also glad, Chaim, just to call you a friend. Welcome.
Welcome to. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nighttime at the moment, nice and quiet. But a few hours ago, we had a barrage in Be'er Sheva of incoming missiles, and a reminder that this war is far from over, and there's still a lot more that needs to be done on the military side of things before we'll be able to try to return to some semblance of normality. Although that normality, of course, is going to be very, very different from what we had or what we knew before the Shabbat, Simchat Torah, the 7th of October, 2023. So, Doug, you want me to go straight ahead and give a sort of update? Okay, so Doug mentioned that our community has been, the university community has been, or has had some losses, and the number now, the number of people who have either were killed in the massacre or in the military response afterwards has now sadly reached 84. That includes first degree relatives of employees and faculty and students, but it's still a horrific number. As you probably know, we have students who are still hostages in Gaza. Dorit, perhaps afterwards, will talk about faculty and who have been released, but amongst the student hostages, of course, is Noar Gamani, who I'm sure if you followed the news, you saw the horrific pictures of her being taken away by the monsters on the back of a motorcycle. We have absolutely no idea we have no news of her, nor of her partner, who's also a BGU alum, who studied electrical engineering, and he's also a hostage in Gaza. You may not know this, but Noah is an only child, and her mother, who is an immigrant from China, has brain cancer and is not doing well. And we very much hope that Noah will be able to meet her mother and at least hug her mother again before in other words, we hope she comes home very, very soon, because it's unclear what the prognosis is for her mother. And among the hostages is also someone called Sahar Baruch, who was supposed to start studying on the 15th of October when the academic year began, but was like Noah, was at the Nova party, and is also now being held hostage in Gaza. Other effects on our community are, of course, the hundreds of displaced persons, in other words, refugees in their own country. These are both employees of the university, including people in my own office, who are displaced and cannot at the moment go home, and students. In fact, one of the first things I did in the week following the massacre was to go and visit some of our students who had been displaced and were now with their communities in Eilat. And I heard some absolutely horrific stories from some of them, but stories that also were an inspiration. And I'll just tell you just one. A political science student who made Aliyah with his family 4 years ago from Argentina. They spent 12 hours inside their safe room in the kibbutz with the terrorists roaming around, and for half an hour they heard the terrorists in their house, and the terrorists shot up and basically ransacked their house while they were in the safe room, but they weren't able to get into the safe room. And so eventually, when the soldiers arrived in the kibbutz later on that night, Right? They were allowed to open the safe room door and exit the house. And what he told me, and this almost brought tears to my eyes, was he told me that after spending 12 hours fearing death, the first thing he noticed when he came out of the safe room was that his student card has been stolen. Or the student card had been taken by the terrorists, and that wasn't what disturbed him. But what disturbed him was that his student card was also an access card to the dorms, to the dormitories in the university, and he was scared that they would make it all the way to the to Beersheba and get into the dormitories and perhaps kill people there. So the first thing he did after 12 hours of survival in this safe room without electricity, without being able to eat or drink or go go to the loo or anything like that, the first thing he did was to call the security at the university and ask them to cancel the access on his card to so that no one else would be harmed or come into harm's way, which I thought was an amazing reflection of how or a way of dealing, right, with the harrowing experience that he went through with his parents and sister in that safe room. Along with that, we have over 5,000 students and faculty on reserve military duty. You know that the university has around 20,000 students. That's about 25% of our student body. Both undergraduates and graduates are on military, are now called up, and many of them are on the front lines in Gaza or in the north, right, protecting our northern border from Hezbollah. And that for us, of course, is an enormous challenge, because as you mentioned, Doug, the academic year hasn't yet started, but we are planning, together with the other universities in Israel, to start the academic year on the 31st of December. The decision is not yet final, because it has to be approved by the Council for Higher Education. But if all goes well, we'll be starting the academic year on December the 31st. But we have absolutely no idea how many of these of our students who are on reserve duty will be able to come back, will be able to start their studies. It also has to be said that the whole country will be in post-trauma, or has been through a trauma. And many of these students are not only going through the trauma of what happened on the 7th of October, but they also are seeing things that most of us never will, and hopefully never should see and experience. Experience battlefields. And I think it's going to be quite difficult for many of them to make that change from being on the battlefield to sitting in the classroom. Although you might have seen, I don't know if you saw them, you might have seen that one very conscientious student took his, I think it was geometry course or introduction to geometry, or whatever it was, took it with him into Gaza. And the television reporter who just happened to chance into the room where he was sitting came across this student studying mathematics or geometry in Gaza. I can't imagine where he found the space and time to concentrate while his gun was sitting by him and in Gaza itself. But there you go.
He didn't want to get a bad score on his first exam.
Exactly. Well, we promised him that any help he needed when he got back from the battlefield, he will get, and that goes for all of us, all of our students. It's going to be a very, very challenging academic year, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure that all the students on reserve military duty who come back to campus will have everything they need to be able to continue their studies to the best of their abilities. Right? We're going to give them the best possible aid and help, both financial and other, that we can. And hopefully by November next year, when the 3rd of November next year, when the next academic year is supposed to start, we'll be back to some semblance of normality, and we'll have managed to get through this very, very challenging and
I
difficult
am
year.
that decision you mentioned about December 31st. I think you mentioned that all the universities, that'll be a uniform decision, not something BGU will do independently. Is that right?
That's correct. We've cooperated since the 7th of October, and all the universities together. We worked together on this, and hopefully the decision that will be made will be a joint one. There might be differences of a week or two between universities, but basically the decision will be a joint one. If I can say one more thing before I turn it over, I'd like to say that even though, as you said, many of our students and faculty who aren't in the military have been volunteering in all sorts of areas, including myself. Every weekend I go and work in the fields, right, along with other people to help out the farmers who have lost most of their workers, who have gone home. But some of our researchers are doing much more serious things. Like, for example, there's one lab which is a specialist in printing in 3D. And they are working incredibly closely with the military, but not only the military, with another one of our professors, Oren Wacht, who I think you've met before, right? Who is in charge of our medical course and teaching course, and is also at the moment in reserve military duty, saving lives. And they've developed and printed 3D printing of small boxes which can be used to store vials, glass vials, on the field in field conditions, right, in order that they shouldn't break, and so that blood and other things can be drawn and taken safely back to as quickly as possible back to the labs where they can be tested. And that's the sort of things that our staff, academic staff, and faculty are doing to help the cause, right, to help us hopefully get rid of the Hamas and Islamic Jihad, and bring back some safety and security to our country.
Could you just speak for a minute, and then we'll transition to Dorit, about what the campus feels like in Beersheba? Are the laboratories, is the research continuing? Are the international graduate students there?
Okay, so many of the international graduate students, I'll start from the end of your question. So many of the international graduate students went home immediately after the 7th of October, but we've been engaging with them, and they're starting to return to Israel. Not so easy, by the way, because not many airlines are flying at the moment to Israel because of insurance issues. It turns out that flying to war zones is not very safe. But El Al is still flying, and they're slowly but surely they're starting to come back. I've been going to campus every single day since after the 7th of October, and for the first few weeks, Danny, the president, myself, and Tal were pretty much alone on campus. But slowly but surely, the parking lot is filling up. People are coming back. Researchers are coming back into the labs. Graduate students are returning and beginning to work on their research projects. And if 5 or 6 weeks ago I could walk around the campus and hardly meet anyone, right now, whenever I step out of my office, there are I have long conversations with people who I haven't seen for a long, long time, and who really want to talk, because that's one of the things that I've also discovered, that people really feel the need for the human touch, for the to be able to speak, talk about things, get things off their mind. I mean, I do it via, as you mentioned, via Facebook. Right? I write my frustrations, right, and I try and post every night. But many other people just want that human touch, and to be able to be listened to and talk, and I find that's quite comforting.
We're getting
so research is now getting back on track.
We're getting an important question from David Levine. He's asking about if you could just share your observations from what you know about the Bedouin and Arab students at BGU.
Okay, so that's a whole issue and challenge that we'll be facing when the students come back to campus en masse. Right, first of all, it has to be said that the Bedouin students who live in the Negev, at least, are affected by this as much as we are. In fact, among the victims and among the hostages in Gaza were also people from the Bedouin community, and many of the Bedouin around the Gaza Strip actually were very involved in saving lives, particularly of the people, particularly of the youth who were taking part, who were at the Nova party. So our destiny here is, our destinies are very much connected. And I think that if there is a silver lining to the cloud, it's that the whole question of Israeli identity, right, will now need to be will be re-examined. And I think that many people who previously might have considered themselves more Palestinian than Israeli, right, would, I think, be rethinking about how much they are Palestinian and how much they are Israeli. And I think that will also have an effect on what happens on campus. And it's clear when we do come back to campus, there's going to be tension. Okay, but we're preparing for that. We have been preparing our staff and others on how to deal with situations like that. And I think in the long term, it's going to be, it will be a very, it will have a positive effect on our campus and on our very heterogeneous student body.
One last thing, Chaim, and I think it was Kibbutz Be'eri. You posted very passionate, strong commentary from one of your visits. Could you just tell us about that visit and what it meant to you, both as the rector, but also just as a Jew?
Well, it's funny you should mention that, because I don't know, I guess that you might have seen what happened in Congress yesterday when 3 American university presidents were the president of Harvard, the president of MIT, and the president of the UPenn were asked about whether they were standing up against anti-Semitism on their campuses, and the answers they gave were horrific. So when I went to Kibbutz Be'eri, we were already aware that of a lot of the moral cowardice of the leaders of American, not just American, but also European universities, and their inability to stand up to what was becoming clear was a rise in anti-Semitism on campuses. And I thought it was very, very important to send a message to my fellow academics about the fact that there was no way you could deny that what happened on the 7th of October was a massacre, right? Israel, there was already talk about the fact that Israel was the one responsible, and that there was no evidence. The evidence is right there to be seen, and it's not evidence that Israel created, it's the evidence that the terrorists, right, excuse my language, I'm going to be very blunt, the bastards, right, they themselves filmed their heinous acts, right, and the evidence was out there to be seen. So to deny what happened on October the 7th is anti-Semitic, is everything we believe in as academics. And so I tried to convey that message in that recording that I did on Kibbutz Be'eri, which was horrific. Kibbutz Be'eri was one of the kibbutzim which really bore the brunt of the attack on the 7th of October. And I thought it was an important backdrop to try and convey what exactly had happened and what it was that we were going through. The video was seen like tens of thousands of times, but I have a feeling it was seen more within the echo chamber, our own echo chamber, than by people who who I wanted it to reach.
Well, thank you for doing that. So stay with us if you can, Chaim, and we're going to bring you back later in the program. And now I want to bring on Professor Dorit Nitzan, who joined Ben-Gurion University in 2022, quite recently, and she directs the master's program in emergency medicine preparedness and response at our School of Public Health. She also chairs BGU's Food Systems, One Health, and Resilience Initiative. For 17 years, Dorit served at the World Health Organization, where she was the regional emergency director from 2016 to 2022. She was also the head of the country offices in Ukraine and Serbia, and was the public health manager for the Southeast European Health Network. Dorit returned to Israel in August of 2022. She's a pediatrician and dietitian, having received her medical degree from Tel Aviv University. She has a master's in public health from Columbia University and the Children's Hospital right here in New York. Besides her academic endeavors, Professor Nitzan participates in national and international committees covering numerous issues on health, the environment, disasters, emergency preparedness, and social justice. She has received numerous awards from organizations, including the World Health Organization and this very little known entity called the United Nations. So Dorit, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Doug, and thank you all. I'm really privileged to be here with you, and thank you, Chaim. You touched my heart. I can see how much is being done with our Ben-Gurion University, a real heterogeneous university. But I would like to start today really to share with you what we are so happy about in this time where so much sadness and pain are all around. This is Nili Margalit. Nili is our colleague and friend. She is a faculty member at the Ben-Gurion Nursing School and a nurse in the Pediatric Emergency Department at Soroka Medical Center. Nili is back home. She was released on 30th November. She was abducted from her home in Kibbutz Nir Oz at that horrible Saturday of Simchat Torah. Her father was also abducted. The terrorists kidnapped more than 25% of their kibbutz members. It's so hard to imagine what they all went through, what she had to endure. Nili was in her shelter with her dog on that Black Saturday. When the army arrived many hours later at the kibbutz, they found her home absolutely burned. It took several weeks to confirm that she was abducted and that she was alive. One of the women who was released from captivity on 23rd October, Yocheved Lifshitz, reported that Nili never stopped nursing and providing care for the people in captivity. We are, as I said, so relieved and so excited to have Nili back home and back to our BGU Soroka family. But Nili's father, Nili's dad, Eliyahu Margalit, he was called Churchill. He was killed in captivity. His body remains in Gaza. Churchill was a child psychologist, and he dedicated his life to raising cattle in the kibbutz. And Nili's heart is broken. Our heart is broken. I asked Dr. Odea Cohen, who is the head of the Ben-Gurion Nursing School, if she can tell me, a few sentences about Nili. And she described Nili as a beautiful, committed professional who has nurtured students with her full heart, with theoretical knowledge and real-time experience. Odea spoke also with Nili when she was released, and Nili told her that being a clinical nursing instructor at the nursing school in Ben-Gurion had equipped her with the skills that were so necessary to care for the abducted. This is a unique story, and we will escort and embrace Nili until the end of times. She's part of our family. She's really trying to recover now. We do not want to bother her, but we are all waiting for her. I also want to just give you some taste of some of the things that we are doing in the university, things that, I know since our work together. For example, I would like to tell you that Professor Nadav Davidovich, the head of the School of Public Health, has joined the team that supports the families of the abducted, and he is with them together with a group of doctors. I join them from time to time and trying to support the families and pushing the international communities, including the International Red Cross Society, the World Health Organization, UN Women, and others, to really move and help us to get the people out. The terrorists attacked people in their homes, fields, and at a music festival, as you know. These are peaceful communities near Gaza. Many were pulled out of the beds violently, with or without their babies, children, partners, and families. Most of them lost their family members and friends. More than 1,200 men, women, children were killed, and thousands were wounded. And as you know, over 240 people were abducted. Many are women that we know now suffered from appalling sexual violence. Many of them are not well. Even if you saw the videos that they came, in good shape, they kept their pride, they are all suffering. Today, there is no proof of life for some of them. Today, it's actually the 60th day of the war, 60 days of more than 100 abducted people that are in Gaza. And yes, we mentioned before, 5 of them are from our BGU family. They are suffering 60 days of pain. But here in the country,
do we have any information at all about the 5 that are still held hostage?
We don't, and that's actually so painful because we don't have proof of life for most of them. We don't even know nothing, and we beg all the international organizations and those that must do their job to do their job, and we don't. And the waves of pain and agony are not limited in Israel. We are all, and I know that you are all suffering with us. It's the pain spreads from the epicenter where the event took place. But don't forget, we are getting missiles, rockets, and we are all hosting families in our homes. And we have so many people that were uprooted, and there are so many evolving threats also from the south and from the north. More than 200,000 internally displaced people, we call them IDPs. They cannot go back to their home. Maybe next slide. One of those people is our colleague, our faculty, Dr. Rinat Avraham. Rinat is our friend, and again, she's another nurse, and she's been leading something really fantastic. It's called Food Lab. It's an initiative with the Negev communities, and this was done before the war. But Rinat took the energy, and while in the hotel with all the people of her kibbutz, Kibbutz Saad, in the hotel near the Dead Sea, she decided to think out of the box and brought to earth something that is very unique. It's a kitchen truck. And in this kitchen truck, the kibbutz members that cannot eat, do not want to eat every day in the hotel, and they want to take control over their lives, they want to eat together. This flagship model, the truck, is equipped with a full kitchen. The families can now make turns. They join in cooking their home recipes. They share the meals and promote their health. And we really want to spread this initiative now to IDPs, to internally displaced people who do not have access to their kitchen and are going to stay away from home for a long time. The value added is immense. It's culture, it's fun, and it's also bringing healthy diets closer to their home and keeping the culture. And let me share some more initiatives. Another one is by Dr. Moran Koren. Moran is from the engineering faculty, and he's been supporting northern municipalities in allocating temporary shelters to the internally displaced. He's using special models and really helping those authorities to deal with it. He's also setting up a tutoring center for the students who will join the school year later. As we heard from Chaim, we have so many people that are in reserve. They need to come back and they will need to be tutored. So Moran is organizing a group, and I've already joined his group. So that's why I'm so impressed by what he does. Another tool that is being developed in the pipeline by our team in the university is what I call health in my hand, or IMA, mom, but it's HIMA with H. This mobile, real-life, comprehensive health record tool would enable what we call seamless, people-centered database for the refugees and IDPs. It's so needed in Israel, but also elsewhere. In many countries, people are moving from place to place. They need to have everything in their hand that will be with one glimpse, the doctor can get it and treat them. So we are doing now a model with teams in the BGU. Another one is about the hosting communities. The hosting communities are also supported by Ben-Gurion students and experts in the university. Many of us are working to ensure access to services, including mental health, social care, and other aspects of health. One of them is Dr. Stav Shapira from the Emergency Medicine Program in the School of Public Health. She developed toolboxes to build resilience, emotional readiness, and community support. Very interesting. Today, I listened to her lecture and I learned a lot. BGU experts are there monitoring the situation and stress indicators. And this one is very special. Professor Ariel Kushmaro from the university is from the Faculty of Engineering, is looking for stress indicators in wastewater. How wonderful it is to know that in this community, you take the wastewater, you check, and here we have to put more psychologists to help, or more social workers to support. The north and south of our small
we've got a couple, if I could interrupt, we've got a couple of questions that are coming in that I think you'd like to respond to. One's coming from Richard Harwood and another one from our colleague in Canada, Vancouver, David Burson. They're asking if anybody from your former employer, the World Health Organization, has reached out to you or visited the campus, and the same thing for the UN.
Very good questions. Yes. So personally, I don't want to say hurt, but I expected WHO globally to start every speech or every comment recognizing what we are faced with, what happened here on the 7th of October. And they don't. But I am so fortunate that my previous boss, Dr. Hans Kluge, when I picked up the phone and said, Hans, please come here. You don't see what's going on here. You have to come. He came to the country. He met with families of the IDPs, of the internally displaced. He met with the families of the abducted people. He went to the hospitals. He visited Soroka. He was at the university. He visited the kibbutzim and Netiv Asara at that day, whatever he was allowed. We escorted him. And he, from that time on, if you go to his Facebook page, you'll see, he really is with us. And that helps us so much. Also, Dr. Michel Turen, who is the WHO representative in Israel, amazing. He even learned Hebrew. He's Belgian. He's not Jewish, but he is just so with us. And then came the chief psychologist here. She's helping us with the mental health in the Ministry of Health, how to organize it. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes, the tip of the iceberg, what we see outside is not but we need personal touch here. And that's why I recommend not to get out of these organizations. On the contrary, to send many more people that are graduate from our university to WHO, to UNICEF, to UN Women. We must influence and we must be there. I hope I answered.
You did. We're also getting a related question from Michael Ozer, one of our board members. He's saying it's wonderful to hear about everything that BGU is doing to help our community in the broader Negev region. Could you speak a little bit about what the government is doing for people such as Neely as they're coming home, and your thoughts also on the PTSD effect or of the school year starting again?
Yeah. So the Ministry of Health, that's where I connected. Actually, from the second day of the war, it was the 9th of October, I came to the ministry and said, I'm here. Do what you want, but I'm volunteering here. And I am now the senior advisor to the Director General on the access to care by the conflict-affected populations. And I can tell you that the Ministry of Health is doing a lot, because the Ministry of Health had to absorb so many lines of protection and safety and security that failed. I don't want to blame anyone, but something happened there. At the end, everything came to Soroka, to Barzilai, and to Asuta. Those are the names of the hospitals in nearby. And then mental health, PTSD, you need to act quickly, and you need to do it in the right way. You cannot do it by, people that are not professionals. And here we had to be very strict and say to some people, we need to bring the professionals in, the communities and the civil, everybody wants to help here. But sometimes we need to say, let's do it the right way, because we have 30 days window to help people to avoid PTSD. PTSD is going to be one of our nation's long story. And we have to think what to do with children, with parents, elderly. And the sad thing is that the Holocaust, we are a country of second and third generation of Holocaust survivors. Many of us grew up in homes that are not the best that as we know today. So we hope to do it better, but we need more professionals in the country, and we need to increase the number of real good professionals that know how to deal with it. And there are not many professionals in the world in these areas.
Thank you. Do you have any more closing comments before we bring Chaim back?
Well, I just wanted to mention that we are also working in the north and the south, we are working in the Negev with the Bedouins community, but also north and south with the Hezbollah and the Houthis threats. We are working with villages to bring them the help. And maybe there is one last slide just to show you. It will be very quick. And this is the one with the community for health. We established with the students and with different partners, I will not name them, but you see them under the slide, a project where we train people in communities to help themselves. So part of the things with resilience and avoiding post-trauma is to give control to the people and to learn how to get ready. So readiness is part of prevention mechanism that we do. So altogether, I think we can go for hours, and I can tell you how things are being done. And we are trying to help in different directions. And I thank the students and the faculty that are so involved. And I thank you for your time and patience.
Well, we thank you. You don't need to thank us. Okay, I think we're going to bring back Chaim Hames, and we're just going to wrap up the program. Thank you, Chaim, for hanging in there. We've got a couple of questions that are building. One of them, I think I'll throw to you, Chaim. This is from an anonymous attendee. He's trying. They thank you for everything that's happening at BGU. This question is about what type of coordination is happening throughout Israel between the universities together, between the universities and the municipalities. Is it feeling coordinated or chaotic? And what is? Yeah, why don't you answer that?
Yeah, well, I think again, I talked about silver linings. One of the other silver linings has been civil society, which Dorit also kind of mentioned previously. Right? Civil society has been absolutely amazing in its response to this disaster, and that includes many of the municipalities who have also stepped up where perhaps government should have but hasn't. And the universities, all the universities, of course, because of our students are post-military, right, or in the immediate years following post-military. So all the universities are facing the same issues about the number of students who are in or on who've been called up and are fighting this war. I mean, I think, have the highest percentage among all the universities of our students who are fighting, who are in the reserves. But the percentages are pretty, not that great a difference. So we're all facing the same challenges with the forthcoming academic year, and we talk a lot. We give advice to each other. We ask, so there is a lot of collaboration. And at the end of the day, I hope it will be beneficial for all of us.
Thank you. This could be for either one of you. Michael Ozer's also, he's pointing out that Danny, the university president, Professor Daniel Shemovitz, gave a really powerful interview to BBC recently, just over the weekend. And he was very positive about the role that BGU plays in not just coexistence, but a shared society. Could either of you comment on what that might look like as students return and as we try to determine where Israel goes from here?
Dorit, do you want to have a go with, because you're in your faculty, there are a lot of it really is a heterogeneous faculty. Go for it.
Yes, and I think that it's great that you mention it, because we are working so with such a heterogeneous community in our faculty. We have lots of paramedics and health professionals that are from all religions, but absolutely all religions, and also we have very religious and very secular. So it's like we have everyone there, and it's beautiful because also in the hospitals, and I'm a pediatrician and I, working in emergency rooms, we are together. Our patients, we don't care who they are. Our colleagues, we are friends. But such tests put us in, it's in high demand for giving special attention, and we cannot take it for granted. We should not take it for granted. And we are investing in it. We are searching all the time. And that's one of the things. We had a meeting today, and I told everybody, we have to search for common grounds. We have to build trust. We have to find a way to reconciliate and to work for peace. We have to not be afraid of the word peace. We have to show inside how we do it and give hands to each other. We have to visit homes. We have to learn about the culture and learn the language. It's so important. So Chaim, actually, I was going to write a letter asking that we will learn Arabic because we really must work hard to become one big family as we are. And I think Ben-Gurion, and I'm telling you, I'm coming from so many countries and different universities. This is a special place. It's a place where we are together and we know how to invest in it.
I think anything that I add will only I can't add anything to what Dorit said.
Okay, very good. That's not easy, Dorit, to be able to, keep Chaim from talking. But Chaim, how about a closing comment? Then we're just going to wrap things up.
Okay, well, with everything that's going on, we might have forgotten that tomorrow night we start to celebrate the festival. We'll celebrate the festival of Hanukkah, and of course, Hanukkah is the festival of lights. And what we hope for here in Israel, and I hope all over the world for all Jews and others around the world, that the light of the candles on the Chanukiah dispels some of the darkness that is around us. And we also hope and pray for the very, very quick return of the hostages, and of course that no more soldiers pay either with their lives or their bodies or get wounded, and everyone comes home safely, and that we can start the academic year and return to some semblance of a normality as soon as possible.
Thank you. Dorit, any closing comments?
I have nothing to add. I really just light the candle and I like it. I love it. Thank you, Chaim, for speaking also for me.
All right, wonderful. Thank you too for joining us. If you're wondering what you can do, I'm going to point out a couple of opportunities. For those who are feeling the need to go to Israel, we are hosting the Board of Governors at the university May 19th to the 23rd. And just before that, we are going to have a trip to Eilat, the home of our third campus, our second largest actually, in a very special place that not everybody has visited. So you can join us for either of these experiences, or ideally both, May 15th through the 23rd, to show your solidarity with Israel and experience BGU up close and personal. So please consider that. You can find more information on our website, Americans for Ben-Gurion University. Also, I just wanted to comment for a second on our emergency appeal that we call Negev Prevails. Thanks to the generosity of donors, a number of you I know that are already on this call, the Zoom call, have given. We've raised close to $6.5 million from 612 donors, 40% of them brand new to us, for a worldwide campaign that's targeted to get to 10 million. We're at about 9.5 million worldwide. So the US has raised about 70% of the funding. But our goal is to get to $10 million by the end of December. So please, if you haven't supported us yet, you can click on that QR code or share it in your social networks. This is a very direct way to provide immediate help for the employees, the students, the families, BGU community that were so directly and disproportionately impacted. This is a really scary number, but the 84 deaths for us make our community about 7% of the total lives that were lost, which is just horrible. So we are very directly impacted, and every dollar and donor that helps support us really matters. As you've heard, BGU students stepped up in staff in all these rebuilding efforts, using our housing to serve as barracks and house medical professionals, support our soldier students, and support and create mental health and psychology services for our community and the surrounding Negev community. and also to provide some stipends for all of our students that are in reserve duty and so much more. If you want to find more information, again, you can go to the website a4bgu.org/Negev Prevails. David Ben-Gurion, the founder and first prime minister of Israel, and the person I like to call the #2 Jew all time, once said, and he said so many amazing things, that it is in the Negev that the people of Israel would be tested. What a prophetic comment he made. But he also said that the future of Israel would emerge from the Negev. The Negev represents 60% of the land and still less than 10% of the population. And the key to the Negev growth in the future, the most vital institution as the #1 employer, as the economic engine, as the cultural engine, in many ways as the soul of the South, is Ben-Gurion University of the Negev. So on the day after all of this wraps up, if it will, hopefully it will swiftly, our university will be at the core of rebuilding the country for the future. You'll soon hear more about a campaign that was just announced that we've launched, and there's coverage about a very large gift, generous gift made in Canada by Canadian Israeli. We are going to be launching a campaign called Way Forward, and that campaign will be a comprehensive campaign to support Israel and the university for generations to come. So look for more of that. Thank you all for joining us today. It means a lot. Stay safe. Happy Hanukkah. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you.